Ice stop. Ice what?
Whoa, whoa, baby, poke it out, poke it out, poke it out.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. And today we're going to be doing something actually that's new. I've never done this before. I'm gonna put one out, see how it does, and maybe incorporate it into the weekly lineup. This is an interesting video. It's kind of like a Saints vs Jaguars preview, but not on teams in themselves, but the players within the teams. These are some matchups to watch so that you know who to look for, what things to look for teams to win games, and stuff like that. In the predictions videos, we usually don't cover matchups to watch. I've never done that. That's never been a type of thing for me. There's been keys to the games and stuff like that for teams, you know, team statistics as a whole, but I've never really covered matchups, and that's definitely something that's big in football for sure. Our matchups. So I'm feeling a lot better. Thank you guys for being patient with me during my sickness time period, but I'm back, and I'm telling you, the grind is stronger than ever. I know that word is cringy and I hate calling it that, but in all actuality, that's what it is. So the New Orleans Saints play the Jacksonville Jaguars this Sunday in Jacksonville at 1 p.m. So the first thing I would like to talk about is none other than the offensive line. And honestly, the offensive line is what makes the wheels go round. So in this matchup, I'm looking at the entirety of the New Orleans Saints offensive line versus the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line. The New Orleans Saints rank second in the league in Pro Football Focus's pass protection ratings. This literally has given Teddy Bridgewater one of the cleanest pockets he's had, the cleanest set of pockets he's had in his entire career, and it should enhance him to play better along this stretch that Drew Brees is injured. Jacksonville's defensive line has proved not to be able to stop the run, but it has been very, very, very good at rushing the passer. They're tied for number 6 along with the New Orleans Saints for 16 sacks. 16. They're tied with us. Us and the Jacksonville Jaguars have accumulated the same number of sacks, and that's all accredited to that defensive line. Jacksonville's defensive line is not bad. Even though it's had its trouble with the run, it has been doing great against the pass. So, you know, we have to make sure that's something we look out for, and I know that is something we'll look out for. I'll talk more about individual matchups with Alvin Kamara and this defensive line soon, but I just wanted to let the pass protection be known that if the New Orleans Saints do not put up good numbers against this Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line, they let them disturb Teddy Bridgewater, then there's going to be a problem, because if the defensive line disturbs Teddy Bridgewater, you're pretty much taking away the advantage of possibly not having Jalen Ramsey out there. So it's a big deal. You have to make sure he has time to pick apart that defense. If the offensive line doesn't perform, we may be in big trouble. That's a huge, huge matchup to watch, as it is literally in every single game ever. Now, this is where we start to get into some more personalized matchups, and this might be one of the most detrimental matchups in this entire game. It's Michael Thomas versus whoever Jacksonville's #1 corner is going to be. And I say whoever, not like, oh, no, AJ Bouye sucks. No, it's not going to be Jalen Ramsey most likely. And Jalen Ramsey is one of those guys that can go in man-to-man coverage and manhandle almost any wide receiver in the league. It would be a beautiful matchup to watch Mike Thomas and Jalen Ramsey go at it. I was all for it. This is one of the games I was most excited for because of that factor, but we most likely will not be able to see Michael Thomas go up against Jalen Ramsey. So we're going to have to settle for Michael Thomas against AJ Bouye, and I'm going to let you guys know right now, AJ Bouye has not been that hot this year. He's been targeted, I believe, 20 times and allowed 11 receptions. He has a 64.7 Pro Football Focus grade, which is almost 10 entire points lower than Eli Apple. I'm going to get into Eli Apple later, but that's a big thing. We have someone of less than Eli Apple's skill covering Michael Thomas. That's a big deal. Eli Apple, yeah, you could say he covers #2 wide receivers, but who does AJ Bouye cover when Jalen Ramsey's out on the field? Okay, #2 wide receiver. So AJ Bouye somehow is significantly worse than Eli Apple. AJ Bouye has also let up a 50% catch rate. This is something that Teddy Bridgewater, watch it, is going to take a huge advantage of. If Jalen Ramsey doesn't play, Michael Thomas versus whoever that #1 corner is a huge detrimental matchup. Michael Thomas leads the league in yards, receptions, and has an 81.8 catch rate through 5 weeks. That's a big deal. Whoever plays that corner spot, you have your hands full. Michael Thomas, expect him to have a big day if Jalen Ramsey isn't out on that field. And that's almost a 100% promise guarantee. Another thing we need to look at is extremely important, and this is Alvin Kamara versus Myles Jack / the rest of the Jaguars rush defense. Christian McCaffrey, if you guys saw last week, absolutely torched, destroyed, urinated on the Jacksonville Jaguars run defense. Christian McCaffrey only had 19 rushes for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the reason why I say Myles Jack is because Christian McCaffrey also had 6 receptions, 61 yards, and a receiving touchdown. If you go back and look at the highlights, a lot of those receptions were on Myles Jack. So Alvin Kamara, easily a better receiving back, easily better at making open field tacklers miss than Christian McCaffrey, is going up against one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. The first time he's done that all season long. Cowboys have a great rush defense. Tampa does. Seattle does, especially with the addition of Jadeveon Clowney. And he also went up against the Rams with Aaron Donald. This is the first time Alvin Kamara has had a run defense that isn't like top 10 in the league to go against. So expect him to have a big day. Christian McCaffrey got held to 37 against Tampa. Alvin Kamara had double that. Not saying that correlates, but Christian McCaffrey did bounce back against the Jaguars' rush defense and rush for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. So expect Alvin Kamara to have a really big day this Sunday, because he's a fantastic running back. And going up against such a what looks to be a lousy rush defense may be a prime to set Alvin Kamara off and maybe allow him to explode. And in that case, I'm all for it, because I missed my man Alvin Kamara scoring those 30, 40 ETC yard touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, this game relies heavily on you, man. Need you to get out there and do the work you always do, but against a lousy defense this time. You haven't had a break all season. This is the break you get. Take advantage of it. The WHODAT Nation begs you. And he's going to be begging to run the ball against this Jacksonville Jaguars defense on Sunday. That's a promise. Huge matchup to watch. Alvin Kamara and the Jacksonville Jaguars run defense, Calais Campbell and company, and Myles Jack in the open field. It's a huge mismatch. We'll see what happens with this Alvin Kamara thing. I'm excited for it, and I really can't wait to see what happens. Another matchup we need to watch, I know you guys are mad at me for these generalized matchups. I promise it will not be like this in future episodes. Just kind of new to this. It was a 1 day, 1 record, 1 upload type deal, so I had to make sure to get this out get this ready as fast as possible, get the stuff ready, and it really was hard to do. So I'll be better prepared next week, and it'll be easier for me. But Teddy Bridgewater versus the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary. Now, Teddy Bridgewater has been amazing for the New Orleans Saints. He has a 3-0 start, a 70.25 completion percentage through 5 weeks. That's very good. Last game, he had 314 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he looked amazing. He really did against that Tampa Bay Buccaneers pass defense, which sadly is ranked 26th. Jacksonville's defense is ranked 24th, though. It's a step up, but not by much, especially with the absence of Jalen Ramsey most likely occurring. Teddy Bridgewater has played against pass defenses such as Dallas, which is 6th in the league, 13th in the LA Rams, and 14th in Seattle. So watch this closely. Teddy Bridgewater could have another explosive game where he breaks out like he did versus Tampa. Very similarly ranked defense. The pass rush for the Jacksonville Jaguars has been absurd, but the New Orleans Saints offensive line shut down Shaq Barrett, who has 9 sacks through 5 weeks, completely down. Shut that entire defensive line down, and hopefully that's something we can continue to do against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If we eliminate pressure, Teddy Bridgewater will have time to evaluate the secondary, go for Michael Thomas. Jared Cook may even open some things up. This is a huge thing to think about. If Teddy Bridgewater outplays Gardner Minshew, that's basically ball game. Alvin Kamara has to do his thing on the ground, as I stated before. Teddy Bridgewater versus secondary is something extremely big to look at. Can he go out and replicate, not even replicate, have a game half as good as he did last week. That'll be a huge game maker, huge decision maker for the the path of the game. We need to see if Teddy Bridgewater can perform in the same direction of which he performed last week, which means get the ball going forwards, not backwards. The next personalized matchup I'd like to talk about is DJ Chark versus Marshon Lattimore. Now, the first thing I want to state is this: 5 receptions, 48 yards, 0 touchdowns. That is the total combined stat line for the last 2 games for the number 1 wide receivers that Marshon Lattimore has guarded. Amari Cooper and Mike Evans, 2 of the best in the game. That's all I want to say for the moment. I'm going to continue this, but that's just something I wanted to get out there. Marshon Lattimore has returned to his lockdown ways, but DJ Chark has quietly been having an amazing season. Last game against the Carolina Panthers, and presumably who was guarding him, I'd have to assume, was James Bradberry. I didn't watch the film on that, so I'd have to go back and do that. Actually, a bit, clumsy on my part. I'll make sure to watch everything and analyze everything correctly before the preview game preview video in a few days. DJ Chark against that Carolina Panthers secondary had 8 receptions, 164 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a loss. That is fantastic. What looks to have happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars is they played amazing offensively. Their defense just couldn't stop a cold. Kyle Allen went berserk and lit them up. Christian McCaffrey had a game of his career, and that's what happened. But DJ Chark played fantastic, but he has these biggest tests this season in Marshon Lattimore. We're going to see how that works out. Marshon Lattimore has not allowed 50 yards to a receiver. I don't know how long. This man had that horrible start to the season, locked down Marshon Lattimore's back as easy as that. Incredible. DJ Chark versus Marshon Lattimore. If Marshon Lattimore locks down, we have a very good chance at winning. If he doesn't, this may be a very, very, very close game that may swing in Jacksonville's direction. Can't let DJ Chark get hot. Next, we have Eli Apple versus whoever he plays, presumably D.D. Westbrook. This is really just an excuse to brag about Eli Apple. I think he's played phenomenally this season. Eli Apple has 14 targets. He's allowed 8 receptions. He has a 73.0 grade on Pro Football Focus, which is almost 10 higher than star-acquitted A.J. Boye that gets talked about way more than Eli Apple ever has in his entire career, besides that meltdown he had in New York. Let me say something right now. Eli Apple has such a story. All of you guys that hate on him, he was drafted in 2016, went to the New York Giants, got called a locker room cancer, and pretty much booted out by all of his teammates, coaches. Everyone hated him. I don't understand why. Have you watched his interviews? He's the chillest dude on earth. How does he cause that much of a problem? It got me a little teary-eyed, a little heart-warmed when I see Eli Apple talking in an interview this week, talking about how much playing for a team that cares about him changes things. He said everybody there cares about him. He feels like one of the guys in our locker room, and he's fitting in perfectly. That's amazing for Eli Apple. I just wanted to say that. But he does have a huge test in D.D. Westbrook this week. D.D. Westbrook has been playing fantastic. Last week against the Carolina Panthers as well, he did have a big game. 7 receptions for 82 yards, the long being a 30-yard pass. So that's definitely something to look at, especially because Eli Apple, whenever he's getting beat, it's the most breakneck I can't even explain the positions he's in when he gets beat deep. He'll be beat deep, and he'll be defending with his left foot because he's upside down somehow. Like, I never understand what goes on in those situations, Eli. Those are some things that make me shake my head. But overall, you're an amazing corner with a big challenge against D.D. Westbrook. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch. Almost has the exact same impact as DJ Chark versus Marshon Lattimore, except the DJ Chark one may lock down an entire half of the field. Definitely something to look at. Everyone pay attention to Eli Apple and see how he does against D.D. Westbrook, because it's one of the stronger pieces of competition he's had this season. Now, the last thing I would like to talk about is the New Orleans Saints run defense versus running back Leonard Fournette. Now, Leonard Fournette started the season shaky, looked a bit trash, lost me a couple of fantasy games, and then he shaped up in these last 2 weeks. How will he fare against Cameron Jordan, Sheldon Rankins, Malcolm Brown, and Marcus Davenport? I don't know, but we're definitely going to see this week. Leonard Fournette's stat line has been extremely impressive these past 2 weeks. He had 29 rushes versus Denver for 225 yards. 225. That's a lot of yardage. He had 23 rushes against Carolina for 108 yards as well. So, 2 back-to-back over 100-yard games. Very impressive from Leonard Fournette. But on the latter side, the New Orleans Saints have held this season Todd Gurley, 16 attempts, 63 yards. Chris Carson, 15 attempts, 52 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, 18 attempts, 35 yards. Peyton Barber, 8 attempts, 32 yards. As you can see, the numbers go down every week. 63, 52, 35, 32. The New Orleans Saints run defense has been, it's been astounding the past couple of weeks. The New Orleans Saints defense has a huge test in Leonard Fournette, but Leonard Fournette possibly has the best run defense he's went against all season to worry about this week in Jacksonville. Those are the matchups I want to look at this week, guys. If there's anything else you guys want me to talk about, go ahead and let me know. This was a weekly series suggested by Evan or Mark 4. I don't know if I already said that or not. If you have any suggestions for any weekly series, go ahead and comment them down below. I will try to find a place to fit them into the weekly schedule because there are some days that do not have videos on them. If I could get to a point where I'm uploading a video every day, that would definitely be something that I would like to do. I would like to put out as much content for y'all as physically possible, but I don't want it to be filler content and just put out because I want 5 videos. That's exactly why I haven't done it. I've had opportunities to do so, but if it's just filler content, why even put it out like anyone wants to watch that? But thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to let me know. I'll leave a poll up at the top. I promise you guys, the first rundown of a video is never good. It takes a bit of experimenting and getting a feel for that certain series. I got the State of the Saints down, Madden down, preview and recaps down. This just needs a little bit of adjusting. I really appreciate you guys sticking through and watching the entire video if you're at this point. If you are, leave a WHODAT for me down in the comment section below so I know, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.
Ballin' like Barkley, wrist so sparkly, internet surfing, feel like I